Hello and welcome to Hadoop Diary Day 1 Introduction. Why call it Hadoop Diary? This is the first question I like to begin with my series. Um, now, you may be wondering why is it called Diary versus Hadoop tutorial that's available on YouTube. First is that I'm not a Hadoop expert by any means. Two, I don't have any real world experience. Which means I never joined the project that I get to use Hadoop in daily basis. So what that really means is what this video is about is I'm just simply logging what I learned so far and sharing it with the world. So please look at this video as a discussion video and not a tutorial video. So there's going to be some places possibly that I may have misunderstood the concept or some fact that I'm completely wrong. If that happens, please help me to correct my mistake. And in the future, whoever's viewing, I can correct the mistakes, what I did as a follow-up video to this. Why am I doing this? Basically, I want to know enough to pass the Cloudera's Hadoop Developer Certification. As many of you probably know, that the certification, as of right now, has high value in terms of the make yourself more job marketable. And that's my primary reason to get this. And number two is I realized that there weren't many certification related videos toward Hadoop. So I figure I start my own. But that doesn't mean that all the materials that I will cover be part of certification. It's just basically I'm putting this video with everything I know about Hadoop. And if I ever do pass this test, will be part of these videos. Number three is that when I learned Hadoop, I want to get to a point where I can teach others. And I figured doing this video would serve the purpose for that. Okay, now this is where I'm beginning. I should have maybe, start the question with what is Hadoop? But I started the question as when should I use Hadoop? I learned that when you have really big data um, and you need to store it in a disk space in a reasonable amount of time, you should use Hadoop. What I meant by big data is a file that is over a gig or possibly over 100 gig or terabytes or petabytes. Whatever it is, whatever the biggest number you can think of, that is the big data. And what I meant by the reasonable amount of time is to store, to write, and read. So when you use Hadoop, you can increase tremendously in that speed. Also, when you want to analyze big data in a reasonable amount of time, you should use Hadoop. What I meant by reasonable amount of time to analyze is, let's say you have a computer that's analyzing a file that's over 10 gig, and it takes 24 hours to get some values out of that data. To me, that 24 hours is unreasonable amount of time, and you can shrink that as much as less than 30 minutes if you use Hadoop. So that is what I meant by reasonable amount of time. Hadoop is really made for write once, read many times. What that means is, it's really optimized to read and analyze the file versus actually writing the disk. Of course, it is made to store large amount of files. So all this together, what this really means is to run big jobs with big data and analyzation that takes over, say, 24 hours. Another way of when I ask the next question I have in mind is, when should I not use Hadoop? When you're processing a very small file. In Hadoop's world, I think Anything smaller than 64 meg is considered a very small file. So if you're processing a file that's less than 64 meg, then you really don't need to use Hadoop for that. Constant data changes. Adding data is okay. What that means is any data you have in Hadoop, to change a value inside that data is not optimized for that. However, this is different from what I'm saying of adding the new data. So what I meant by adding a new data is, let's say I add a file 1 yesterday that's like 10 gig. And today I open the file and I'm just adding more data on top of it. That is okay. But if you're changing the data that's on the first line, or say in the 1000 line of that data, you want to change it, it's really not optimized to handle that case. Also, when you need transactions, uh, if you ever use the MySQL or Oracle, they support something called transactions. Uh, so what transaction does is any one unit of work where you do some reading the data and updating some data and committing the data, and if there's ever an error, it'll roll back everything back as if nothing had happened. But in Hadoop, it does not support transaction. So it could be a bad thing if you're processing something and your computer crashes because it has already been committed at the point of the crash. So it is not good for transactions. So the next question I had was, how is Hadoop used today? When I did my research, Facebook, they have more than 100 petabytes to analyze what advertisement are best fit for their users. That is 100 petabytes. If you guys don't know what petabyte is, I googled that up, and that's 1,000 terabyte equals 1 petabyte. So you can imagine how many data they have, and when they analyze this, it would take a tremendously long time. But by using Hadoop, I'm sure they have improved the performance by at least 1,000 to 10,000% compared to doing it from one computer. Amazon, they use to analyze suggestion purchases for their customers. So if you ever Google Amazon, not Google, search in Amazon, say Hadoop book. After you look at the Hadoop book, you'll probably see in the middle a suggestion that you may want to also purchase a book about Pig or Hive or anything Hadoop related. But how did it really know what to suggest? And the way they do it is from their tremendous big amount of data, they do analyze on the relation of that book and do a suggestion. Netflix, they also use to analyze suggestion movies for their customers. So this is just a few examples how Hadoop is used today. Is there alternative to Hadoop? Nope. And I think that's the main reason why it's so popular, is because there is no competitor to Hadoop today. There's really just one solution. Why is it becoming so popular? First is open source, and free is always good. And it's a tool to potentially unlock new way of generating profits for a particular company. And I just gave away the perfect example, which is Amazon. So Amazon uses the suggestion purchases by analyzing the user's data, and because of that, they're generating more profits. So chances are pretty good that a customer buying product A will buy whatever product B suggested buy on that page as well. It's not only for the profit too. Basically, let's say It can be a tool to potentially discover cyber threats that can be found by analyzing big data. Um, Example would be, let's say, from the Boston Marathon incident, where a lot of people submitted pictures and videos and such things like that. And the data, let's say they got over a terabyte, and they're trying to find an image that matches another, that guy in the picture. So it can be used in that purpose as well. And that's what I learned so far today. I'll see you on next video.